kind of like similar to the lizard people, but like frog people. Anyway, my little bummer, you can see my little pumpkin lights. Okay, so the Loveland Frogmen are also known as Loveland lizards. They derive their name from the location they were seen in, Loveland, Ohio. Their sightings mainly originate from Clermont County. When you think of these cryptids and how they look, it's pretty literal. Think a human-sized frog standing on their hind legs, and that's what they are. If you resembled a frog, you'd be a Loveland Frogman. Pretty terrifying, pretty weird, but anyway. They've got leathery skin, webbed hands and feet, and they're about 1 meter tall. Some descriptions have added that they smell like almonds, and others add that they carry wands. All in all, these guys are a very mixed bag, making them even harder to believe in. As I mentioned before, the sightings of the Loveland Frogmen are all restricted to Clermont County, Ohio. They largely seem to live in forests where the atmosphere is temperate, but they're also able to survive long cold winters by hibernating. The sightings of this cryptid don't cover a lot about their behaviour. The mention of wands comes from the fact that these guys seem to pick up sticks to use as tools. However, these tools can emit sparks, according to the sightings, so make of that what you will. The general theory here is that the frog men have some sort of telekinetic ability. So basically, if you've ever seen Stranger Things, it's kind of like that. With 11, how she can, like move things with the mind and stuff, allowing them to cause those sparks. As for what a Loveland Frogman might want from you, who knows? I think the sightings speak for themselves in some cases, but others do give you a small hint as to their motivations. Before we dive into these sightings though, I want to cover the hoax rumours. The simple fact of the matter is that there is no evidence to suggest that any sort of man-like frog could exist. The fact that these dudes are also limited to a single area of the US is suspicious, leading many to believe that they're a complete hoax. There's also no evidence in American folklore that the frog men exist. There are 4 famous sightings of the Loveland Frogmen. I'll go through them in order. However, there have been other reports here and there of generally shocked people in the area. Part of me believes that those driving through the location after a big day of being professionals, causing some tiredness, may have a fair bit to do with their sightings. The first reported sighting was in May 1955. It was on a stretch of land along the Miami River in Clermont County, on the outskirts of Loveland. This one is from an unnamed businessman who claimed to see 3 bipedal amphibians by the side of the road most defining and interesting of the cryptid's history. The second sighting was on March the 3rd, 1972 at 1 a.m. about 17 years ago, about 17 years after the first one. This one's from a police officer who sadly chose to remain anonymous, who can't say I blame him given his job. Can you imagine going to file a report on the Loveland Frogman with your co-workers? He was travelling along Riverside Road, which leads to Loveland, when he saw something insane. The road was icy, so the officer was driving slowly when he saw what he thought was a dog on the road. Suddenly the creature sped in front of the cruiser and he slammed on the brakes, coming to a stop just before hitting it. Stationary, with his headlights fully lighting up the creature, he could see what it was. He described it as a crouched, frog-like creature, which then stood up on two legs. It stood there staring at the officer for a short while before darting across the road, hopping the embankment and fleeing to the river. The officer's height estimation lines up with the first sighting, as did the physical description. What's interesting about this sighting is that another officer came to investigate. While they found no frogmen, they did find a big old scratch on the side of the road where the creature fled. The third sighting came just 2 weeks later, adding a little evidence to these two. This one is from another police officer. Thankfully, his name this time, Mark Matthews. Mark saw what he thought was an injured animal as he was driving into Loveland. He pulled over and was going to move the carcass off the road, making it safer to drive on. Just as he was about to grab the animal, it got up and crouched in front of him. Mark was so shocked by this that he immediately upholstered his weapon and shot it. According to the officer, the creature hobbled over to the side of the road before hopping the guardrail. Apparently, the entire time, it was keeping an eye on Mark, as if aware that he may shoot again at any moment. Now this is where we first hear mention of a tail. This sighting is described as different because it lacks a tail, though none of the others actually have this in them as far as I could find. Given the evolution of frogs from frog spawn, it might make sense that some would have tails. If they'd only just grown into full frogmen, from what I guess must be frog spawn men, then the tail could still be present. Sadly, Mark Matthews has actually gone back and pulled his statement and sighting from the record in the years following it. He actually thinks that this animal was now a reptile that had escaped from its owner. He added that he only shot at it to help confirm the previous officer's story. Whether they knew each other at all has never been corroborated. In an email he sent in 2001, he says that his story was blown way out of proportion. Who knows what the truth is, though. Finally, the fourth known sighting of the Loveland Frogman came in August 2016. This one came from Sam Jacobs and his girlfriend. They were playing Pokemon Go. I fucking love it, sorry. I love Pokemon Go, let's be real, in Cincinnati, but there's a lot of doubt around this one. I reckon that most people probably was going back on his shooting incident. However, when you pull the ones into it, it's all completely baffling. And that's all I have on this theory. We're going to be talking about the horrible truth about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Chocolate Factory, 1971. Okay, so this obviously features a lot of racial things. So just to put it out there, and sort of like worker abuse and child abuse. So kind of like along those lines. So I'm just going to put that out there. This account is not my own opinion, it's someone else and what they've written online on a website. I'll give you the website after I've read it and what they put at the end. Okay, just to make it completely clear that this is not my opinion, this is just a theory that someone put online. As an adult, I've really looked forward to sitting down with my kids and not watching the 71 film, but reading Roald Dahl's original 1964 book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That is, until I listened to the audiobook and rewatched the movie. In revisiting the magical world of Willy Wonka, I realised the hero of my youth is actually a colossal, the D word. On the surface, the moral of both Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is good children are rewarded and bad children are punished. Roald Dahl's original story condemns many things, including bad parenting, gum chewing, television, spoiling children, overeating and self-indulgence. This is why we love that the innocent, likeable, impoverished Charlie wins the factory in the end. It's a classic rags to riches tale against a creative, sugar-filled backdrop. Mel Stewart's 1961 movie is full of wonder, and I understand why you'd want to watch it over and over again. However, there's a darker theme lurking beneath the songs and candy. Superficially, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is about candy and justice. In fact, the movie is about using slave labour to build an empire, and that message is not at all hidden. It's just that we've buried our heads in the chocolate river. It's a clever indoctrination into capitalist wealth building and imperialist brutality, and 100% told from a white person's perspective. Years before Charlie had his visit to the factory, Willy Wonka ran his candy business with regular workers, not little funny coloured people. That was in quotation marks. But because Willy Wonka was the greatest candy maker in the land, his enemies sent spies into his factory, stole his ideas and recreated his greatest candy creations. So what was Willy Wonka's solution to the spying conducted by his enemies? Slave labour. In Willy Wonka, the chocolate factory is run by little coloured people from a faraway exotic land. Very interesting, they could be described as coloured even in the 70s. In the 2000 film, the Oompa Loompas are of Indian descent, which essentially signifies that Wonka outsourced his entire operation. Remember, American slave masters brought Africans to America. In the name of Christian righteousness, they justified their systematic brutality as civilizing primitive people, using the hymns that enslaved Africans sank as proof of their happiness. And while not clear in the 1971 film, in the novel the Oompa Loompas are paid not in money but in cocoa beans. Let's take a look at the 7 deadly sins. Augustus Gloop, the overweight German child disobedient and vicious, making it the likeliest candidate for the sin of wrath